council meeting today, Wednesday. I'll tell you the date in just a second, March 18th at 2 o'clock p.m. So this meeting is now called to order.
I'm going to take the roll call. Councilmember Horn.
Here.
Councilmember Connors. Here. Councilmember Moore. Present. Mayor Pro Tem Lee.
Here.
Mayor McCary.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now if I'll ask Councilmember Moore to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Please rise at the table to join as we recite our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do apologize,
Thank you.
Mayor McCary. If you don't mind, I'll do the introductory notes.
Please do.
Okay, so members of the public wishing to address the City Council on items appearing on this agenda are advised to indicate their interest in doing so by submitting a speaker card to city staff or proceeding to the podium one by one at the time an item is considered. Members of the public wishing to address the City Council on items not appearing on this agenda may do so during item 5. Each speaker will have the opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes, once per agenda item, unless otherwise determined by the City Council. To ensure each speaker is provided with an uninterrupted opportunity to speak for the full time allotted, members of the City Council and city staff are asked to reserve any responses they wish to make to public comments until after each speaker has completed their comments. Speakers are requested, but not required, to identify themselves both on any speaker cards and in comments testimony. Speakers are advised that their names and any information submitted on speaker cards or otherwise provided in writing to the city may be disclosed or become matter of public record. No speaker should expect privacy of such information.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on the agenda is item 4, presentation of ceremonial matters. And we do have a presentation to the American Red Cross. So if you would read the proclamation, please.
City of Laguna Woods, American Red Cross, March 2026 proclamation. Whereas caring for one another is at the heart of our community and exemplified by the residents of Laguna Woods, whose simple acts of kindness through the American Red Cross provide help and hope in the most difficult moments. And whereas the City of Laguna Woods supports continuing the life-saving legacy of Clara Barton, who founded the American Red Cross more than 140 years ago to prevent and alleviate human suffering. And whereas every day, ordinary individuals lend a helping hand to make an extraordinary difference to neighbors in need, whether it is providing emergency shelter, food and comfort for families displaced by fires and other disasters, or donating life-saving blood for cancer patients, for accident victims, for people with sickle cell disease, as well as other life-threatening conditions. And whereas the American Red Cross also supports military members and veterans along with their families and caregivers through the unique challenges of service, using vital skills such as first aid and CPR to help others survive medical emergencies. And whereas the American Red Cross also delivers international humanitarian aid and helps reconnect loved ones separated by crisis around the world. And whereas during March, we celebrate the humanitarian spirit of the American Red Cross and reaffirm our commitment to help ensure no one faces a crisis alone. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Laguna Woods City Council does hereby proclaim March 2026 as American Red Cross Month in the City of Laguna Woods and supports the humanitarian mission and accomplishments of the American Red Cross in our city as well as the nation and around the world. Dated this 18th day of March, 2026.
Thank you. Do we have someone here from the American Red Cross? Please proceed to the podium.
Hello, my name is John Waldeck. I'm a board member of the Red Cross of Orange County. On behalf of the American Red Cross of Orange County and our board of directors, we want to thank the City of Laguna Woods City Council for recognizing March as Red Cross Month. We're grateful for your continued support of our mission and the communities we serve. Volunteers are at the heart of our organization. They make up 90% of our workforce. Here in Laguna Woods, residents contribute in meaningful ways, donating blood, responding to local emergencies, taking preparedness training from the Red Cross, and supporting military families and veterans. The tradition of the Red Cross Month dates back to 1943 when President Franklin Delano Roosevelt first called upon Americans to recognize and support this humanitarian mission, a tradition that continues because communities like Laguna Woods demonstrate the enduring value of service. We're proud to work alongside the City of Laguna Woods. Your commitment to preparedness, civic engagement, and community well-being strengthens our collective ability to respond when help is needed most. And thanks to the city's support of our community blood supply, last year 85 life-saving blood products were collected from the City of Laguna Woods for patients in need. Anyway, appreciate it very much. I'm also listed as the current liaison for the City of Laguna Woods for the board, and I'm happy to have you all reach out anytime you need to get information about the Red Cross.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any council member have any comments?
Yes, I will comment. The Red Cross does have a history of preparing and addressing times of disaster, so we really appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
In my own life, I've been impressed and gratified by the actions of the Red Cross in a number of areas. Fortunately, more as a donor and a participant and less as a beneficiary. During my time in the armed forces, I was well aware and sometimes assisting in the Red Cross's efforts to aid individual service members when they had family emergencies at home. And the Red Cross would participate in verification and transportation for people who were in crisis. After Hurricane Katrina, my husband went down to New Orleans with a team from Health and Human Services, and the Red Cross was there doing what they can. And in these times of diminished federal emergency response, I think the Red Cross does different things, but the things that you do are more critical now than ever. So I appreciate that. And lastly, I was a few years ago at a Red Cross Heroes event, and one of the people they acknowledged was this lady who was 90 years old or more who was still giving blood 5 times a year. And I thought, well, shoot, if she can. And so I had been a donor prior, but had kind of lapsed. And so I got fired up and I became a donor again. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to serve.
Thank you.
I also want to say thank you. I've only been a donor. I haven't had a husband that could go and help out. That's pretty awesome. But everything that you do all over the world is just, it's wonderful. People can always depend on you showing up and being there and helping. So it's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Well, I can't thank you enough. You know, it used to be, I hear about Red Cross when we have huge disasters, but it seems like we have disasters every other day these days. You probably have to spread yourself more thin and try to cover so many different kinds of situations. The participation from the volunteers, has they remained the same level, or do you see more people joining you?
Yeah, the participation is I don't think has fallen off in any way.
Okay.
Definitely, there have been a lot more events to respond to, and
Yes.
the need for more volunteers is always increasing.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would just add my thank you to the American Red Cross. As a healthcare worker provider for many years, I saw the value firsthand the importance of the American Red Cross and the contributions to people in the community, as well as in a organized healthcare setting environment. There's always been an assurance that we could always rely on the American Red Cross to bring to the facilities blood transfusions or whatever that was needed. So it's a long-standing history of being a community support and being a very present help in the time of need. So I just add my thoughts and best wishes to the American Red Cross for all that you do. And we just are so proud that you're considered Laguna Woods a starting point or a connecting point for the American Red Cross. So thank you again for your service.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I will take a motion to. So it's been moved in second. We'll take a short recess for a photo op. Oh, did we vote? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
That's kind of an afterthought.
Yeah, okay, so we'll just take a brief moment, brief recess for take a photo. Okay, so we're back in session again. Next is item 5, public comments on non-agenda items.
Regarding public comments on non-agenda items, this is the time and place for members of the public to address the City Council on items not appearing on this agenda. As a reminder, each speaker will have the opportunity to speak once for up to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the City Council. To ensure each speaker is provided with an uninterrupted opportunity to speak for the time allotted, members of the City Council and City staff are asked to reserve any responses they wish to make to public comments until after each speaker has completed their comments. Please note that pursuant to state law, the City Council is unable to take action on or discuss items not appearing on this agenda, but may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by speakers. The City Council may also refer items to City staff for follow-up or response. Request that City staff report back to the City Council at a subsequent meeting concerning items or direct City staff to place items on a future agenda.
And our first speaker is Vicki Johnson.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for your gracious comments about the Red Cross. I have several items. I'm in favor of term limits, and Laguna Beach got signatures and went through a ballot initiative to put term limits on their November ballot. So they cited a lot of good reasons for term limits in their petition. And I think we too here could probably gather 2,000 signatures to get this on the ballot, maybe not this November, but in the future. The flock cameras that Laguna Woods uses, I don't know all the details, but they're really coming under a lot of criticism, even by high-tech cities like in Palo Alto, because agencies, and particular concern is ICE, many agencies are accessing the data from those flock cameras. So Palo Alto, many cities are terminating their contracts because of these, what are considered violations of privacy and even improper use by ICE. To increase the public participation, I sure hope soon, and I think I heard you'll have Zoom comments. And it would also be great if those public commenters could provide a slide or even a short video, which is possible in many cities like Irvine. Last topic, the Orange County Power Authority, which came before you in 2024. I'm so glad you didn't join. Not only are they charging more than $25 a month, way more in some cases, for an average resident, they just did their budget projection, where by the end of their fiscal year in July, they will have lost $4 million and depleted in just the last fiscal year $30 million of their reserves. So not a good partner for Laguna Woods. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Deborah and Ben Siegel, and you will share your 3 minutes together. Is that what this
Yes.
is? Or
Hi, my name is Deborah Rose. I am the city manager of Lake Forest, and I am also the president-elect of the Orange County City Managers Association. And in that capacity, I would like to thank the city council for allowing us to basically commandeer your city manager to work on a regional issue that was really important and really needed a lot of leadership. And so we were able to utilize Chris's time, and I realized that the only way Chris was able to spend that time on this issue was with the full support of the city council. And we know that the time he spent on this was time spent away from fulfilling the goals in the work plan that you sent out for him to benefit the community of Laguna Woods. And so we really want to recognize you as an association and thank you for allowing us to use Chris's talents. It was sorely needed, and we truly appreciate that you provided the support to him that allowed him to work on this issue. So on behalf of the association, our heartfelt thanks.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Ben Siegel, I'm the city manager of San Juan Capistrano. I'm the president of the Orange County City Managers Association, also joined by Jennifer Cervantes, the city manager in Rancho Santa Margarita, who is on the executive committee of the City Managers Association. I wanted to echo Deborah's comments. At the last council meeting, I believe the council approved the WISE agreement, the waste disposal agreement with the County of Orange. It's a 10-year agreement. It's a very important agreement that we anticipate all 34 cities will sign on to. It provides cities with guaranteed rates for disposal of waste. It ensures the county has a predictable revenue stream. It was expired last year. And for the past couple of years, there's been a subcommittee of city managers working with the county to renegotiate the terms of that agreement. The county came forward with a very aggressive initial proposal. And through the good work of the committee led by Mr. Macon, we were able to negotiate down that disposal rate to something much more acceptable and favorable to cities in addition to other terms. So not just will residents of Laguna Woods benefit from Chris's hard work, but residents throughout the county. So on behalf of the City Managers Association,
wow.
we are very proud and honored to recognize Mr. Macon with this small token plaque, and I'm going to read it here. It says, Chris Macon, City Manager, Laguna Woods, in recognition of his exceptional leadership of the WISE Agreement Ad Hoc Committee, his outstanding communication to his colleagues, and his significant contributions to all the cities within Orange County. March 2026. It has a cute little picture of a trash truck on here. And I do have to say, this was very complicated and technical, involved an incredible amount of research, and we would not have been able to do it without Chris. So thank you very much, Chris, and thank you for allowing him to work on this on behalf of all the cities in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we take a photo? Okay. Okay. We'll have a comment and then we'll take a recess for a photo. Chris, stay there.
I think you're recognizing what we all recognize, how valuable our city manager is, and I want to thank City of Lake Forest, City of San Juan Capistrano, and I thought that was City of Rancho Santa Margarita. Thank you for the work you do for your city. We know city managers are important. We are very pleased, and I'm sure what you're saying is fully truthful, that he was imperative to be in this position. We're very proud of him for the work that he does. Thank you so much for recognizing it.
Anybody else?
I know Chris just loves all this attention. Yeah, it's as Carol said, it's no surprise to hear how well respected Chris is by his peers for his ability and his dedication and the way he can make things happen that are really hard to get through the maze of differing opinions and desires. But I know he worked really hard on this because we had a number of conversations about it. And just as all of us on the council are active in other organizations and spend some of our public service time working with different organizations here in Orange County and beyond, I think we are pleased that our city manager can take a leadership role and do that. And so we will continue to support him in doing that, especially since he seems to have an endless capacity to work for the whole county as well as to work for our city. So thank you, Chris. And thanks for coming to acknowledge his good work.
Any other council comments?
I just want to echo my colleagues and thank you for coming out and doing this, because it is wonderful that we appreciate him here, but to see the appreciation from other places is so well deserved. I'm very excited for him. I know he's not that excited, but he's embarrassed. But congratulations, Chris. And thank you really for all you do for all of us here in the county.
Any other council comments?
Okay, I'll just say thank you very much. I appreciate it. The trash truck is very cute. But it was my pleasure to help. You didn't need to do this, but I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
You have been overruled. We'll have to have a photo op. So we will we'll adjourn for a few minutes to have a photo. Yes. You guys in the background. Yeah. That. Okay. City Treasurer report.
Good afternoon. Presenting the Treasurer's Report for February 28, 2026. Cash and investments ended with a total of $14,444,990, with the general fund ending cash and investments with $6.6 million, the general fund reserves with $4.6 million, and special revenue funds with almost $3.2 million. Cash and cash equivalents had an ending balance of $590,645, which represented 4% of the total $14.4 million. Pooled money and investments accounts had an ending balance of $7.5 million, with LAIF ending at $3,875,278 and closed the month with 3.871 yield rate. And CAMP had an ending balance of $3.6 million, closed the month with 3.830 yield rate. Investments had an ending balance of 6.3 million, with certificates of deposits with an average yield rate of 4.238% yield rate. That equals the 14.4 million. We didn't have any transfers or maturities activity during the month of February. So the other post-employment benefits trust account had an ending balance of 166,500 with a net gain of 4,218. Pension liability trust account had an ending balance of 603,000 with a net gain of 13,860. And that was pretty much it for the month. Nothing exciting going on. So at this time, we'll receive public comments.
We're open for public comments. Are there any public comments? Okay. Public comments are closed.
Staff's recommendation for City Council is to receive and file the Treasurer's Report for month of March 2026. I'm sorry, February 2026.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
So no opposed, so receive and file. The next item is item 6, the consent calendar.
All right, so for consent calendar, all items appearing on the consent calendar are considered by the city manager to be routine and will be enacted by one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council or city staff requests that specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and consideration of action. Members of the public may address the city council on any item appearing on the consent calendar at the time the item is considered, regardless of whether or not the item has been removed from the consent calendar. Items that are removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the items remaining on the consent calendar.
Like a motion to approve the consent calendar. It's been moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, consent calendar has been accepted. Thank you. The next item, we're moving right along here. Item 8, public hearings. And turn that one over to the city manager.
Thank you very much. We have one public hearing today, and that's on the city's emergency management ordinance. There we go. So as you'll recall, our current 2-year budget and work plan includes a significant work plan item for the city to to update its emergency operations plan. We are underway on that project. As part of working on that project, we have taken a look at some of what I would characterize as building blocks for the emergency operations plan. One of those being the municipal code section that deals with emergency management. So we have before you today some recommended modifications to that municipal code section. Really, I view them as more of a cleanup and modernization than I do substantive changes. We've made some changes to ensure that the ordinance complies with the California Emergency Services Act, which is the principal section of government code that governs how cities conduct themselves in the event of locally proclaimed emergencies. We've made some efforts to be more explicit about powers and duties in that chapter, all with the goal of making it easier to use, easier to understand, both for internal city audiences, including the city council, and members of the public. So I wouldn't say that there are really significant differences. It's more of a truing it up to current state law and being a little bit clearer and a little bit more comprehensive with how we discuss the content that was already in the chapter. I did want to talk today briefly about some of the city council's key powers and duties in the event of an emergency. And I want to be clear that what I'm talking about today are really statutory responsibilities. There are certainly other kind of traditional responsibilities for members of the city council during an emergency. For instance, members of the city council typically play a role in communicating with constituents, in reassuring the community, in being a guiding presence for community members before, during, and after emergency situations. Those are all kind of unofficial duties. What I'm going to talk about now are powers and duties that are set forth in state law and then that are codified in the emergency management ordinance in your municipal code. So one of the more visible things that the City Council is responsible for is for actually proclaiming a local emergency. And the obvious question is, well, what good is that? Why do we proclaim a local emergency? There are a lot of reasons for it. It unlocks certain provisions of state law. It gives the City Council more ability to exercise police powers, provides the city with some immunity for certain emergency actions, and it authorizes you to issue emergency orders and regulations that you might not be able to on a day-to-day basis, and we'll talk about those in a moment. Really, though, one of the most critical reasons cities proclaim local emergencies is it paves the way for state and federal aid. It is a prerequisite for state and federal aid. There are some aid programs, things like the American Red Cross service, that are not contingent on emergency proclamations, but this is a typical step that cities will go through to position themselves for receiving aid in the future should it be necessary. Along those lines, the City Council, and it's actually the mayor who does this on behalf of the City Council, but the City Council has the ability to request the governor to proclaim a state of emergency. That is a prerequisite for receiving federal aid. So these things are laddered, right? There's a sequence to things. That is an authority that rests with the City Council. Candidly speaking, if the governor is going to consider proclaiming a state of emergency, it probably means that many other city councils are doing exactly what this city council would be doing, which is requesting that state of emergency proclamation. As I alluded to earlier, the City Council has the ability to promulgate emergency orders and regulations, as does staff. So for both proclaiming a local emergency and promulgating emergency orders and regulations, the City Council has that authority, and then I have that authority acting in the role as the city's Director of Emergency Services. In instances where staff proclaim a local emergency, the City Council is required to review the necessity of that and then ratify that within 7 days of it being issued. Otherwise, it has no force and effect. In instances where the City Council proclaims a local emergency, you're required to review that proclamation at least every 60 days to reconfirm the need for the proclamation, and state law requires you to terminate that state of emergency at the earliest possible date. Similar situation with emergency orders and regulations. In the event of an emergency, the City Council may or may not be in session at all times when emergency orders and regulations are necessary. So staff has the ability to issue those emergency orders, which could be things like curfews and evacuations, but they're subject to confirmation by the City Council at the earliest date thereafter. And so much of what you would be doing in the event of an emergency is reviewing what staff is doing and confirming or terminating that, and then issuing these requests for assistance from higher levels of government. State law also provides a process whereby the City Council is able to reconstitute itself in order to ensure that it has a quorum. This would be in the extremely unlikely and unfortunate situation in which multiple members of the City Council were incapacitated or killed as a result of an emergency situation. So there's a process in state law for, even if there's only one member of the City Council remaining, to reconstitute until you have a quorum. And if for some reason the entire City Council was unavailable, there's a process for the County Board of Supervisors to do that on the city's behalf. And then in addition to that, it's important to note that during an emergency, the city is responsible for doing all of the things the city does on a day-to-day basis. And so exercising all of your ordinary powers of the City Council is a priority during an emergency. We need to continue certain core emergency services or non-emergency services. And so the things the City Council does in meetings like today, those would still be going on, right? The world doesn't completely stop to deal exclusively with an emergency situation. So those, as I look at state law, Those are kind of the 5 major buckets of responsibilities for members of the City Council. But obviously there are those unofficial duties that we'll talk about more as we get into the actual emergency operations plan piece of it. But I wanted to focus on the legal piece of it today. So hopefully that makes good sense. Our recommendation today, there is a public hearing for this, so we would ask that you open the public hearing, receive any public testimony, close that public hearing, and then approve the introduction and first reading of an ordinance read by title with further reading waived, titled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Laguna Woods, California, amending Chapter 7.04 of the Laguna Woods Municipal Code pertaining to emergency management, including but not limited to organization, function, powers, and duties, and determining and certifying that the ordinance is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. Just in terms of timing, we anticipate that we will be able to come back to the City Council in June or thereabouts with a draft of the updated emergency operations plan. At that point, we'll talk some more about the City Council's responsibilities, and then subsequent to the adoption of the emergency operations plan, we would aim to provide actual, like, specific training on the City Council's responsibilities. So those would all be coming down the road. This again is like a building block for the larger update that is before us. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor for the public hearing.
Open for public hearing, public comments. Are there any comments from the public? Please, Vicki.
Just a quick question. In case of emergency, could you release city funds to help with road clearance or things like that?
We'll take all the public comments and then we'll all respond.
Okay.
Just a question. I assume that you're working with the Laguna Woods Village boards on this, particularly GRF and VMS, because there's going to be a significant amount of coordination required because 95% of the people are within the walls. And I know that one of the things that was being considered, and I hope there's been conversations with you, was the building of Building E, because that's where the resources are going to be to serve the 17,000 people that live within the walls. So I assume that you're making progress on having conversations with them relative to the ordinance and how it's structured so it can be effectively accomplished. Am I right or wrong?
I'm going to respond right after we get through all public comments. But you are right, Catherine, don't worry.
Okay.
Any other public comments? Okay, public comments are closed.
All right, I can briefly respond to both of those comments. To Vicki's comment, generally speaking, yes, the city has the ability to fund or subsidize emergency response needs. We also, part of that requesting aid from higher levels of government is paving the way for that aid to be available locally as well. I will tell you, and this isn't news to anybody in village leadership, but there is a deficit of aid available to homeowners associations. They're treated, and I'm generalizing here, but they're treated more like for-profit businesses, except they're not when it comes to like loans and things. So it is true that yes, one of the city's roles will be to try to get monies flowing for response and recovery during an emergency. And then Catherine, to your point, yes, we will be working with Village Security as we get into the meat of the emergency operations plan update. We've already obtained a copy of their most current emergency operations plan to make sure those dovetail as cleanly as possible. With respect to Building E, I'm not aware that there's been any specific dialogue with the city beyond maybe permitting requirements. So I can't really weigh in there, but I'm aware that that project is happening. And I think that was it. So I'll turn it back over to the mayor if you have any questions or
Any council have any questions before we go? Please.
I'm gratified that we are moving forward with this and considering it and making plans. We tend to think we're living in a quiet little bucolic corner of Orange County, and emergencies are not likely to come our way. But we've had a shooting at one of our local churches. We've had a shooting at Cook's Corner. There's potential for natural disasters, and now with the unsettled world political situation, there is potential for a catastrophe anywhere. So hopefully we'll stay safe at least until we get our plan in place, and hopefully then afterwards as well. Thank you.
Go ahead.
We're also very fortunate to coordinate with the fire authority and with our sheriff's department, both of whom know our community very well and are ready with all kinds of plans to help in all kinds of emergencies, and would be happy to talk to any group about it that wants to, but that's who we coordinate with quite a bit and would be on the ground and would be our first place to turn to. So thank you.
Any other comments? No? I just want to express my appreciation for you, Chris, for bringing this up and going through it right now. And, you know, as a mayor and as a first-term mayor, it really is gratifying to know, even at a deeper level, the resources that are available, the responsibility that lies with the mayor. I remember when we had the shooting at the Presbyterian, Carol, you were mayor at that point. And so having, you know, clear-cut directions and instructions on what our responsibility to the city and also to the residents, it's a really, really good conversation to have. So thank you for bringing it up. And can I have a motion?
I'll move the recommended action.
Pardon me, I have a question. Did you read it?
Yes.
He did.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. So the recommendation carries. The next item is item 9, City Council business.
Okay, item 9.1 is a continuation of the discussion that we had in February regarding our wildlife feeding ordinance. On February 18th, the City Council conducted a public hearing on this ordinance. There was a broader presentation, and then they approved the introduction and first reading on a 5-0 vote. As a reminder, the proposed ordinance really does 4 things. It more broadly prohibits any action which is reasonably likely to provide sustenance for coyotes or other wildlife. It explicitly allows surveillance cameras and similar technology to be used to identify violations of the ordinance. And we did include in there some limitations on the types of surveillance cameras and the length of that use in response to public comments at that meeting. We explicitly allow staff to file complaints and reports with the state regarding instances of wildlife feeding that might also violate state law. And then much less significantly, it makes this particular section of the Laguna Woods Municipal Code known as the Wildlife Feeding Ordinance. So this is the normal second reading and opportunity for adoption. There's an opportunity for public comments a second time on this item. And then staff's recommendation would be that the City Council approve second reading and adopt an ordinance read by title with further reading waived, titled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Laguna Woods, California, amending Section 5.20.070 of the Laguna Woods Municipal Code pertaining to the prohibition of feeding or taking any other action which is reasonably likely to provide sustenance for coyotes, rodents, vermin, or other wildlife, and determining and certifying that the ordinance is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. With that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor for public comments.
Okay. We're now open for public comments. Are there any comments from the public on this? Okay. Hearing none, public comments are closed. Any council?
And before we move on, we do have one written public comment that was provided to the City Council in advance of the meeting, but I will go ahead and read it aloud at the resident's request, assuming that's okay with the mayor.
Yes.
The public comment reads, Dear Council, my name is Jay Lussey. I'm a 16-year resident of this fine hamlet and owner of one handsome dog named Ranger, and also an owner of a fine gray cat named Pilgrim before the coyotes got her. If you want to get serious about reducing the number of pets being killed by coyotes, if you want to reduce the number of people injured in their struggle to save their pets during coyote attacks, and if you want to stop the number of coyotes now being shot in the head because nothing else works, please prohibit fruit trees in the city. If the wildlife feeding regulations are about feeding wildlife, then we must recognize that anyone who grows a fruit tree is feeding wildlife. They are feeding coyotes and they are feeding rats. Therefore, those trees should be banned. Thank you for listening. It's the end of the public comments.
May I make a comment?
Sorry. Public comments are closed. Council comments?
I did want to make a comment. I have to correct something. Coyotes do not eat citrus fruit. They do not eat oranges. They don't eat lemons. They don't eat limes. The problem with the coyotes has been people feeding the coyotes, and I think 27 people, I am told, raised their hand at a recent meeting when they were asked how many people feed coyotes. 27 raised their hands, and rather than spend more time on telling you why I am aware of residents feeding coyotes, that is a very serious problem, and it is residents. I'm surprised. I really didn't realize there were that many people, but I think they see the animals that live in our community, and they're cute, and they want to interact with them, and it is a very serious problem. Thank you.
I want to thank Chris for the work that he did on this, because as Mr. Lessie had pointed out, there's like over 1,400 trees, fruit trees in the village, and it's only really, he pointed out, and it was on Google, that coyotes do ingest fruit, especially during droughts for the liquid, and otherwise rats eat them, which is the main food of coyotes. So leaving your fruit on the ground or on the tree is inviting wildlife. So yes, leaving a whole chicken out there is more feeding the coyote, but there are times when they'll eat anything. They're omnivorous. They whatever. So I really, if people weren't being injured by trying to rescue their pets, this wouldn't be such a big deal. But too many of our residents and their pets are being taken. It's a very unusual year, so I'm glad that we're taking more steps to curtail it. Thank you. And I'll move the ordinance.
I'll second it.
Aye.
And I would like to make a comment. Recently, our council chamber was filled to overflowing with people begging us to do more to reduce the number of coyotes and the aggressiveness of coyotes within our city. And this is one of the immediate steps that we are taking. I know people, I don't know anybody that feeds coyotes, but I know people who feed squirrels. And they're just so cheery that the squirrels are so fat and happy, and it doesn't occur to them that they're just fattening up to make a coyote fat and happy. So this ordinance will give us a chance to put some limits on that and to try to persuade people not to do that. As to fruit trees, I believe the village is already taking out fruit trees every time a property that has a tree on it is sold. And so they're making a start. And we are also, I think, through this ordinance, making it illegal to have fallen and rotting fruit around your manor. So we are taking more steps than just shooting the coyotes, which is really a thing of last resort. So I'm glad we're moving on this.
And I would just like to add my condolences for anyone who has lost a pet or have been injured as a result of an encounter with a coyote. It's really, it's heartwarming, and I just offer my condolences to you. But also, we are doing something, the city is doing as much as we can to assure that the existence within the city and the coyotes is one that is not so traumatic and is not so dangerous for our pets. So I'm glad the city is doing this, and we will do as much as we can to educate our residents about the ordinance and to the extent that we can enforce the ordinance. So thank you again for staff for bringing it for the second reading. And so we've had a motion. It's been second.
It was already voted on.
It was already voted on. So good. The next item is, where am I? 9.2. We're still on the city manager.
Solid waste handling services. You got a unexpected preview of this earlier in the meeting, but as the council is aware, the county sets rates for disposal at its landfills and in its solid waste infrastructure. They have made the decision to increase those solid waste disposal rates starting this July, and then for the following 2 July 1sts thereafter by rates greater than CPI. And so the city council has already approved an agreement with the county for continued use of its landfills, which, despite the increased rates, remain the least expensive local disposal option for landfilled waste. But I put a couple bullet points on the screen here just to reiterate kind of the magnitude of those increased fees. So think of the rate as when the trash is picked up here and it's driven over to the landfill, every time a truck transports waste from Laguna Woods into the landfill, there is a per ton charge for the amount of waste transported. So that per ton charge will increase by about 53% starting July 1st of this year. After that, it will increase by 11% on July 1st of 2027 and 10% on July 1st, 2028. Cumulatively, that is about an 85% increase from the current rate between now and July 1st of 2028. After July 1st of 2028, it will return to increasing by a CPI measure every year thereafter. There's a new CPI index used for this. It's actually a blend of 2 different indices. But this is all to say that for the next 3 Julys, there will be a more significant increase than we would have expected otherwise. So the cost of the per ton disposal at the landfills is essentially passed through by CR&R to its customers as part of its customer rate. So CR&R pays the fee on the customer's behalf, but recovers it through the rate that it charges the customer. To be very clear, the increased rate has nothing to do with CR&R, and it was not the city's decision either. This is a rate increase driven by changes at the county. So because the county is increasing its solid waste disposal rates, CR&R has made a request of the city to increase some of its maximum customer rates to provide for that increased per ton landfill disposal cost. As a refresher, the franchise agreement that the city has with CR&R establishes maximum customer rates. So it doesn't say this is specifically what CR&R needs to charge, but it does set a ceiling for those rates. What CR&R is requesting is that some of those maximum rates increase more significantly than by CPI for the next 3 years, kind of concurrent with the increases at the county landfill system. In terms of customer rate impacts, it really does depend on the customer. So the rate tables have increased. Individual rates may increase anywhere from 1% to 8%, but the actual impact on customers depends on how CR&R actually charges and then what services the customer has, right? This is a rate increase that affects landfilled waste, so it doesn't impact recycled waste, it doesn't impact organic waste. It's a piece of the waste stream that's affected by those gate fees at the landfill. And then the maximum rate tables that are in the proposed amendment assume the maximum CPI adjustment allowed under the contract, but there is the possibility that that CPI adjustment could come in lower, in which case those rate tables will automatically adjust downward to whatever the actual CPI adjustment is. I want to note that recognizing that this is going to impact customers, we did reach out to VMS staff last month, let them know that there was a likelihood of these customer rate increases about a month ago. We also shared an article from the Voice of OC that provided some background on the county's decision-making behind these increased rates. And then really as soon as we had the proposed maximum rates, we provided those to VMS as well on February 24th. So they're in the know on this. For their perspective, they operate on a calendar year budget, so this will affect the last 6 months of the current calendar year budget. But again, it's not the totality of their waste payments. It's an increase on a portion of the rates that they pay. So our recommendation today, there's an opportunity for public comments. And then the actual motion that we would recommend, it's recommendations number 2 and 3 on your agenda. So the first part of that is due to the discretionary, let me back up a second. Normally, under the franchise agreement, if CR&R were requesting an increase in fees or an increase in maximum rates, they would be required to pay an amount of money to the city in advance for consideration of that request. In this particular instance, as I will read in a moment, staff is recommending that we waive that fee because this request is not a result of something that CR&R initiated. They are responding to a change from a third party that they don't have any control over. So from staff's perspective, we don't view it as logical to charge them for the processing of this particular request. So the first part of the motion would be due to the discretionary adjustment request being a result of actions of the County of Orange and not CR&R Incorporated, approve CR&R Incorporated's request to waive the $5,000 non-refundable payment otherwise required to be paid to the city by CR&R Incorporated prior to consideration of the discretionary adjustment request pursuant to section 24.5 of the agreement with CR&R Incorporated for solid waste handling services. And then the second part of the recommendation would be to adopt a resolution titled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Laguna Woods, California, approving and authorizing the execution of a Sixth Amendment to the agreement with CR&R Incorporated for solid waste handling services, including but not limited to increases in maximum rates that can be charged by CR&R Incorporated to customers, and determining and certifying that the Sixth Amendment is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act." I'll point out that Julie Beretta from CR&R is in the audience. Wave if you have any questions for CR&R. But again, they didn't dream up the rate increase. We worked with CR&R to come up with the proposed increased maximum rate schedule, but this is what we're doing in response to what the county did. So with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor for any public comments, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions from the council as well.
Okay, we're open for public comments. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, public comments are closed. Council comments? Or?
I just want to reiterate that the part of the fee that's going up is the tipping fee at the landfill, the cost per ton to discharge waste into the landfill, and that CR&R has other costs like equipment purchase and maintenance and their staffing costs for their drivers and their fuel costs. And so this is just one element of their cost that's going up, which is now being passed on to our residents. So even though we looked back there and said first year it goes up 58% and then 11% and then 10%. That doesn't mean CR&R's rate is going up by by that full amount.
Yeah, I have a question. When are we going to see these raise on our the bills that the residents receive? What?
So in Laguna Woods Village, the ratepayer is the mutuals.
Right,
And so they pay it on behalf of residents. It's recovered from the assessments that residents pay. So I don't know exactly how they plan to pass it along, but the mutuals will be paying the higher rates starting July 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
July 1st.
And this is just for the garbage, right? It's not for the recyclables. So this is one more, if you needed another reason to recycle, good reason to recycle. And keep those things out of the garbage stream that do not need to be in there. So your pay is to recycle.
Great, thank you. Did you?
Comment. I had a question first. Wasn't that in our contract about the waiving the non-refundable when it was a discretionary increase? Was that already in the contract?
No.
It wasn't.
No, so the discretionary adjustment process is really the only process that it makes sense to run this request through. The discretionary adjustment process, though, is meant for things like CR&R went through labor negotiations and its labor costs are now significantly higher, and so they want you to increase their maximum rates as a result of that. In this particular case, it's really a pass-through cost, but there's not a clean mechanism in the agreement for us to process it other than the discretionary adjustment process. So normally we wouldn't be waiving the $5,000. If they were coming to us and asking for an increase, they would just have to pay it. It's really kind of an unusual situation where it's a third party that has forced the issue, and there isn't like a separate provision of the agreement to just increase it because of that.
Could you also explain the county's position on what's happened to them in this situation? Go ahead.
Sure. In the simplest way possible, so cities have for many years been party to what's been referred to as a waste disposal agreement, and is now referred to as the WISE agreement, which is Waste Infrastructure System Enhancement Agreement, or System Enterprise Agreement. That agreement, the current term of the agreement was for 10 years. At some point during the course of that 10 years, the county's expenditures began not so much keeping pace with revenue. They found themselves in a financial situation that led them to the conclusion that they needed to adjust upward the rates by relatively significant percentages, as you saw. I think everyone's desire, including the county's in hindsight, would have been that those rates increased incrementally over time rather than all at once. But I think what's happening now is really the reset of, okay, they waited too long to tell us that they needed to increase the rates because the cost of doing business, as I think none of us have a hard time imagining, has gone up. But moving forward, the idea is that the new agreement, the WISE agreement, is more accommodating, and there's more opportunities for constructive communication throughout the term of the agreement, which will make this kind of one-time phase-in of really significant costs unlikely to occur again. So it's just a product of the amount being collected not satisfying the county's need from a revenue perspective.
Thank you. I guess I also have to agree with the amount of waste that's generated by just one person it's an amazing amount, and it's something we have to be aware of. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? No? So can I get a motion to approve the recommendation?
I'll move that.
Okay, moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Moved, passed.
Thank you.
The next item, moving right along, city council reports and comments.
Nope.
Oh, did I skip 9.3? Yeah. Oh, well then, where did that come from? 9.3, thank you. That is anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, which was agendized by Councilmember Moore.
You want me to make a comment?
Yes, please.
Okay. We all received an email about it, and I read it, and frankly, I forgot about it. I think the recommendation on there was to a Liberty tree, and I actually forgot about it. I looked at it, well, that's a good idea, and I forgot about it. And then I was at the History Club, and the History Club president was asking members of the History Club to come up with ideas that the History Club how we could commemorate the Declaration of Independence. And I got to thinking about it again. And I thought about what would look good. And I realized a clock. A clock out front is pretty general. It's could add to the appearance of the building. And so I spoke to Chris about it. And Chris has some information in here. You want to present it?
Yes, I'm happy to. So I'm going to put up some visuals that Councilmember Moore included in the agenda packet. I think it'll just help with the discussion. So there are a number of clocks out there on the market. The clock that staff feels would work best at City Hall is this one on the screen in front of you. It's referred to as the Courtyard 2-dial street clock. It is a double-sided clock, so if you were to walk to the back side of that clock, it looks the exact same. There are other clocks available. In the agenda packet, we included clocks that would conceivably work in the space. There are 2-sided options and 4-sided options. In terms of the relative height of streetlight poles relative to the clock pole, this one is slightly shorter than the streetlight poles that are used for decorative lighting on the patio right now. And so it would provide a little bit of variation in height, but I think still scale-wise be appropriate. These, once Councilmember Moore raised the idea, we reached out to the vendor to just do some preliminary recon on how this all works. So the clock itself, and I'm talking this clock in particular, this clock, not including tax, shipping, or installation, is about $10,000. There are a variety of options and a variety of kind of optional enhancements to it. We think if you decide to move forward with installing a clock, it makes sense to include a bronze plaque either on or nearby the clock, indicating that it was dedicated in to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. We would also intend on color matching as closely as we could the clock itself to the existing brown that's used on the light poles out front to try to blend the look all together. And then there's a particular location that Councilmember Moore has in mind, and staff have no concerns with this if the council is interested in doing so. There's a really small planter nose right at the base of the ADA ramp up to City Hall. The idea would be to remove that light pole, install the clock in its place, so it would be a little bit shorter than that light pole currently. It has the benefit of already having a footer in place for that light fixture, and it already has electricity running to it, so it would honestly be pretty simple. It would be like disconnecting one and connecting another in its place, which definitely reduces the installation costs. We're not having to install a new concrete pad. We're not having to run electricity to it. There is a battery option for the clocks, but given that there's already power to that location, it's one less thing to remember to replace and to monitor. So I think it makes sense to connect it to the power. From a maintenance perspective, we expect the biggest thing would just be remembering to reset the clock when the time changes. But I have no trouble imagining that residents would apprise us of our failure to do so pretty quickly. So that would be our thought with it. Councilmember Moore, was there anything else you wanted me to? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Actually, yeah, there was one thing. I suggest, this isn't a real expensive item, obviously, but I think the clubs in the village would contribute to this. So I don't think it would cost, we don't have to take money out of the city. If we were to, one way, if you approved, if you'd prefer the city pay, that's another story. But we could ask the clubs if they want to contribute to it, and we would have a plaque just like we did for the library. So clubs that want to, contribute money, you'd have to determine, amounts and so forth. You could do it that way. So you would have the clock. The clock would be visible for anybody. If you want to put it back up there for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
the clock would be visible to anybody driving down El Toro. It'd also be visible as you're coming up the steps, so since it has two sides to it. And these are standard clocks. This isn't special design or anything, correct?
There would be a little bit of customization on it to get the color correct, but the clock itself, like the pole and everything, that it's off the shelf.
Right.
Well, I think they fabricate it to order, but it's, yeah. We would just pick options for it to make it integrate to the site.
Of course, we would be working with the county because Chafee and Don Wagner aren't they on the county?
I think all 5 Board of Supervisors
All
are
5
technically
board,
on the
okay.
advisory committee for the 250th
Okay.
OC event.
All right.
So in terms of fundraising, so 2 things. I expect that all in, including the purchase, installation of the clock, shipping, tax, all of that, I would say that we're probably looking at no more than $20,000, probably less than that. The city's budget could accommodate that if you wanted to go that route. If you wanted to go the fundraising route, we could use the Laguna Woods Civic Support Fund to accept tax-deductible contributions for it. We would have to give some thought to where exactly we would recognize donors. There isn't room, we talked to the vendor, there isn't room on the clock itself for a plaque, so it may have to go like on the wall below it or something. We can certainly do that. It's just a council, decision whether you want to fundraise or whether you would want to fund something out of the city's existing budget. So I have, if there's council interest, I have recommendations that I would suggest, like language for that I would suggest. And Councilmember Moore and I have talked about that language as well. But I think the key question would be, do you want to do this? And if you want to do this, do you just want to pay for it, or do you want to try to fundraise to offset some portion of it? So those are kind of the two questions.
Well, I'll go then, since everybody's looking.
I'll go.
I think it's a great idea. I just have never paid that much attention to so many clocks before, so thank you for bringing that up. I did have a question. I support the idea. I also like the idea that the city pays for it since we have the money in the budget. That would be, I would get my support for that. Also, on this particular clock, there's writing on the top of it. There's a name or something. Would that be omitted, or would that be the City of Laguna Woods, or the one that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I keep taking down the photo.
Was it?
Let me
I
put it
just
back
didn't
up.
want advertising on it if it was.
You did, Joe's.
Yeah, so you have a choice. I think, and let me zoom in so everybody can.
I can't read what that one says.
This one says Fuss and O'Neill, which.
Well, no.
Yeah.
What does it say?
Fuss and
Oh, I
O'Neill.
see.
I think that's a company
Yes,
or
I
something.
think you could change that.
So you
yeah.
you could put City of Laguna Woods there. Or I don't know what the character limit is. It may have to say Laguna Woods or something like that. But you would have the option. I think you can also. Well, I assume you can get it without that as well. So it would just be an option for the council.
Did we need to open this up to public
You do have
comment?
public comments, and it looks like we have a public.
I'm
comment.
sorry, I spoke. So we need public comments first.
Okay.
Okay. Public comments are open. Thank you.
Yeah, I like the idea. I think it's great. I think you might want to consider the 4, so you can see it from all directions. Because if you only have one each way, you'll see it driving this direction, from the south or from the west. But if you're going to the east on the second side over, you won't be able to see the clock. You'll see the clock, but you won't be able to see the time. And so I don't know if there's a significant difference in having 4 sides as opposed to 2 sides, because also by having that other side, then people will see it as they come from Aldi's or they come down, from the south, so that you're going to be able to see it from all directions. And I think if we're going to do it, let's make it so it's really visible to everybody, regardless of the direction they're driving. Just a suggestion. I like the idea, and I think particularly as a celebration for the 250th anniversary of the country.
Thank you. We'll go with the sheriff first.
Wait, don't you have to end public comments?
Yeah, if there's no other public.
Any more public comments?
I'm looking. Public comments are closed. Oh, no,
Oh, I
well,
thought
did
she had
Vicky,
her
did
hand
you
up.
have a?
Yeah, just for the
Okay, public comments are still open.
here. I do support it. I think the city would be good to pay for it. That would speed up the time frame, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, public comments are closed. Council comments?
Yeah, I like the symmetry of the streetlights we have, and I really don't like the idea of taking out light, which is needed by our residents, especially right by the handicapped ramp right there. And I mean, we all have clocks in our cars and on our phones and on our, I just don't see, I would really support a tree, which provides something we don't have, is more shade. And we could put a plaque there somewhere. But taking out a light, and we just went through a whole thing with design standards. The light does not look Spanish. It looks more colonial. So anyway, I would not be for it or for taking out a light that we all need. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Did you have comments, Lee, Councilmember Lee?
Okay, I'll go. I have a number of mixed feelings on this. I think it's nice to commemorate this anniversary. But as Councilmember Horn just said, we spent a long time putting together design standards. And this is a handsome clock, but it doesn't fit our design standards. And I don't know if there's one that does. I'm opposed to the four-sided clock because in the pictures, it just looks really top-heavy. You got a skinny little pole, and then they got this huge cluster. And I agree that we all have clocks on our phones, clocks in our cars. I think people will see that this is a clock tower, but they won't necessarily pay attention to what time the clock says. My feeling on this is that if our residents think it's a good idea and the clubs want to donate to make it happen, then I think that's excellent. And if we put it out there and nobody comes up with any money at all, then it gives us a clue as to whether it's just a vanity project for us or whether it's really something that the people want. So I would propose that we ask people for money for this, because I think not just as a matter of affordability, but as a matter of whether this is really an issue of civic pride or not.
All right, then.
So I think it's not necessarily a functional clock, it's just more of a visual addition to our city hall, which may not be in keeping with our design standards.
Can I? Oh, so I'm going. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I think it's a good idea that we do something to commemorate 250th anniversary. I prefer fundraising by the people in the city, because I remember when we did on the library civic funds, when we had an opening, all these people came just to find their names. Mm-hmm. And it was hard because they thought that their names would be a lot larger, but then it was in a tiny letters. But they really all came and participated in our opening ceremony and wanted to take a picture in front of their name that we couldn't even read. Mm-hmm. But it meant a lot to them. And I really feel that if we are going to do a project, I would like to include the people in the city and see how they feel, and also show the enthusiasm and include them in the project, and by raising funds and have them participate in the fundraising would be a good thing, I feel. And these clock issues, I'm okay with it. Yeah.
It sounds like two people do want to. I was either way. Was that, what is your feeling then? Would you agree to the fundraiser or,
I'm okay. I like the idea of the clock.
okay.
And I like the location of the clock. And so, however, I'm open to whatever comes.
Could I have a motion? Go
Well,
ahead.
so let me make some suggestions here, and I'll put them up on the screen as well. I'll read them in a moment. But so we have about 15 weeks until the 4th of July, which would be the 250th that we're trying to commemorate with something. In order to do our very best to get the clock here in time, the vendor tells us that, like, best case scenario, they can fabricate the clock in 12 weeks. They can't guarantee it, but if we order it quickly, they understand the timing, so they're going to try to work with us if we can do it. We will not have time to fundraise prior to placing the order. So the city would have to, at a minimum, front the costs and risk that the fundraising not materialize for it. But we could certainly fundraise starting next month, once we've got the clock ordered, once we figure out what the costs and things need to be. That wouldn't be a problem. Again, it's really just your discretion how you handle that. I just want to be clear that, like, if we're going to move forward with something like this, staff has to get on it now in order to try to get it here by the 4th of July, which, for the record, I can't 100% guarantee, but we will do everything that we can to get it here on or about the 4th of July. I've drafted a recommendation for your consideration that's split into two parts. The second part has to do with fundraising. First part has to do with just the purchase of the clock. So the first part of the recommendation would be to direct the city manager to purchase and have installed at City Hall an electric time courtyard 2-dial street clock to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence in an amount not to exceed $20,000 in a brown color palette to match the existing light poles at City Hall, with Laguna Woods identified in the header and including a commemorative cast bronze plaque. The second part of the recommendation, if you chose to pursue fundraising, would be to request that the mayor, in her role as chair of the Laguna Woods Civic Support Fund, call a special meeting of the Laguna Woods Civic Support Fund Board of Directors to be held on April 15th, 2026 at 1 p.m. at Laguna Woods City Hall, 24264 El Toro Road, Laguna Woods, California, 92637, to consider approving fundraising to support the purchase and installation of the street clock. At that meeting, we would come to you with, like, these are the funding levels, this is how we would do it. But the city council, in its capacity as the Civic Support Fund, would have to vote on that. So we think we can have all of that lined up for you by your next meeting. We would just meet earlier in the day to take care of that piece of business. So that second piece isn't necessary. It depends if you want to fundraise or not. The first piece gives us enough to move forward with placing the order, which would be the time-sensitive piece. We were told, just so that everyone is aware, that the cast bronze plaque for this clock, the base doesn't lend itself to mounting a plaque on it, and so they would provide a, like, dedicated to commemorate the 250th anniversary on a bronze plaque that could be staked in the planter next to the clock. And if that ended up not being what we want it to be, we could look at alternatives in the future. But again, in the spirit of, like, expediting this process as much as possible, that would be our plan for moving forward. On the four-sided clock thing, let me just, for the sake of having the discussion,
The cost.
I think that would run the price up too, though,
it
wouldn't
would run the price up. Obviously, the more complicated the clock gets, when we looked at the different clock options, there are a couple of things. There are two clocks that are scale-wise maybe would work at City Hall. This clock, I think, architecturally doesn't make a
fit.
whole lot of
Yeah,
sense. I don't know what it is, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't fit. I agree.
So the only other four-sided clock option that isn't really, really tall and would be out of scale with no, that's the wrong one, 333, is this four-sided clock. The difference here is the poles outside right now are about 10 feet. The two-sided clock that staff would recommend is, I think it's like 8.5 or maybe a little over 8.5 feet. So it's a little bit shorter than the light poles. This one is 11 feet 3 inches, so it would be taller than the light poles out there. It's a possibility. The other thing that when we were looking at kind of the style of the clocks, the clock that we would recommend has more of a sculpted base. This one is a squared off, like rectangular base, which is just very different than the light fixtures that we have out there right now. For comparison, the two-sided one is right here. This kind of rounded, type of post is more consistent with what we have. So we were just trying to get it to match a little bit.
I think that's
more.
consistent too.
Yeah, so it's not, I don't particularly have strong feelings on like a two-sided versus a four-sided clock. I just think that their four-sided clocks are kind of bigger and aesthetically maybe a little different from what our building is. If time wasn't an issue and things could be custom made and whatnot, that would be a different story. But I think our recommendation would still be the two dial clock.
So I'm going to move the suggestion that you have 1 and 2. Do you need to read those again?
Nope.
And it fulfills your
I'm just putting it on the
two
screen.
needs obviously we would have people contribute toward it. So do I need to read this again?
No.
Everyone's aware of that?
I have it on the screen
It's
as
on,
well.
it's on the
I move the
screen.
recommended action then.
Okay, so it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Okay, so 1 opposed and 2
Okay.
for, with Councilmember.
We will do our very best to deliver this by the 4th of July.
Okay. Now I'll go back to the agenda. And so now we are at item 10, City Council reports and comments. So about the City Council reports and comment, this is the time and place for members of the City Council to provide reports on meetings attending, but not limited to meetings, regional boards, and entities to which they have been appointed to represent the City of Laguna Woods, and meetings attended at the expense of the City of Laguna Woods pursuant to California Governmental Code Section 5232-3. Members of the City Council may also make other comments and announcements. So the first report is the Coastal Greenbelt Authority, and I am the city representative on that. So I do have a brief update on a Caltrans project. Since I've been on the Greenbelt Authority for 3.5 years, this project was already ongoing, and there has not been any updates or any reports from Caltrans on this project until now. So basically, this slide just represents the rehab project for the city of Laguna Beach from El Toro Road to 73 to 133. And this is the report that was given at the Coastal Greenbelt Authority on March 11th. So basically, the location of the project, Laguna Canyon Road, from El Toro Road to the 73 interchange, which is about 3 to 4 miles. Next slide. So again, this was a Caltrans project. The total project was over 43.9 million. The blue represents Caltrans portion, and then the gold section represents the section that was paid for by the county or funded by the county of Orange. So this project had 4 components: drainage to improve drainage between El Toro Road and the 73. It also had a safety enhancement component, widening of the shoulders to accommodate bike lanes, then to overhaul some of the underground utilities between the 73 and El Toro Road. Again, the benefits of the project was to eliminate some of the lane drop closings, also to improve some drainage and aesthetics, to do some underground utilities in both directions, and also to update and add a Class 2 lane. So again, this is an ongoing, it's been a project that's been going on for over 5 years. The project is 95% complete, and this just shows a list of all of those areas that have been complete. There's a section by the Annalise School that I didn't include in this because it's further more into the Laguna Beach city, so I didn't include the Annalise School in these slides. So this is a slide showing the completion, some of the photos. Component 1, the drainage improvement between the 73 and the El Toro Road, and you can see the before and after. It almost looked like a totally different project, totally different landscape. And that there's a dam over there someplace. The next slide. This is the completed construction photos, drainage improvement between 73 and El Toro Road. And again, you can see the before and after, which kind of, this report has been a long time coming, but it shows that Caltrans has been working tirelessly to make these adjustments. So the next slide is completed construction, again, the drainage from before and after. And of course, the Greenbelt, members of the Greenbelt Authority were very pleased with these improvements, and they were really happy to get this update from Caltrans. The next slide shows a completed construction about the safety enhancements at El Toro Road. And the before and after pictures, really make a big difference. So you can see the, again, oops. Okay, before and after the crosswalk is very prevalent there. And you can actually see, I think on the last slide, there was at El Toro and Laguna Canyon Road, there's a crosswalk right there. And you can actually see the crosswalk, and there was a bike lane. You can't see the bike lane, but there was also a photo where the overground, the before and after, I missed a slide where they showed the underground utility poles. So they have included, made some improvements with the utility poles where they're actually underground. And I apologize, I didn't include a slide that shows the underground utility.
Good question.
Yes.
On those underground utilities, are those on El Toro Road? Where did they take out the utility poles?
Laguna Canyon Road.
Okay, so where El Toro meets Laguna Canyon?
Laguna Canyon Road, yes, in El Toro. So it's that section going from Laguna Canyon Road and El Toro all the way down to the 73.
So if you saw Annalise on the left, am I in the right spot?
It would be behind you.
It would be behind you, you're right,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And they've done a lot with the Annalise School. I didn't include that in the slides because I wasn't really familiar with that, but they've done a lot of construction to make it easier for traffic to get into the Annalise School and easier to make those right turns to get there. So this was basically the long-awaited update from Caltrans, and it was much appreciated by the Greenbelt Authority. Yes.
I drive that area periodically, and I will say that congestion at the school was always difficult during drop-off and pickup times because it's right on the intersection of El Toro Road and Laguna Canyon Road, and people were lining up to turn left and blocking traffic and so forth. So they've got a much better circulation pattern now.
Yes, they have, and they made it so that it's not so congested, and the left turns and the right turns kind of go with the flow of traffic, so it's not that.
And the undergrounding of the utility poles is particularly critical to Laguna Beach because there's really only 3 ways in and out of Laguna Beach, and 2 of them are Pacific Coast Highway, and the other one is this road. And if somebody has a crash and knocks a power pole over, it blocks the road, and the city is really cut off, and it's extremely inconvenient for sometimes a full day or more, and it could be dangerous in times of an emergency. So I'm glad they're getting that done.
Thank you. And then the next Greenbelt meeting is we meet by every other month, so we'll meet again in May. The next one is the Orange County Fire Authority.
Okay, thank you. We have the honor today of meeting our new chief, Chief Reed Gibson. He's taking the place of Chief Bishop already.
Just last month.
Just last month. So, Chief, would you like to come up and introduce yourself, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I'm Reed Gibson. I'll be starting officially here on Friday. So it's a pleasure to meet all of you. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm excited to build our relationship and to work with you guys. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. We hope you'll be here for a while. And we wish Chief Bishop all the luck in the world on his promotion. Thank you. Okay, and I'm sure Chris has some slides from the open house. Okay, this is our new Chief McGovern, TJ McGovern, with myself and Hal. Go ahead. We were at the open house that was there, and it's wonderful for kids. They just have the best time crawling all over all the equipment. Here they're putting out fires and getting to see what the hoses feel like. They get to use all kinds of extinguishers, and they get to ride in the bucket and climb on the helicopters and see the Irvine SWAT team's equipment. Go ahead. And our own Station 22 was there. They were putting out the fires. They were doing simulated car extractions. And Station 46 was setting fires, and 22 was running over there putting out the fires. Go ahead. It was nice to see our own trucks there and our own guys there. See, there was the car on its side. It would be really frightening to be in that condition, but go ahead, Chris. Here's Timber. We used to have Freedom. He was one of the very few accelerant sniffing dogs in California that can go and smell gasoline or explosives. They also have cadaver dogs and search and rescue dogs, but this is Timber. He's a young dog and like 14 months old and very friendly, and I was very lucky to have a behind-the-scenes introduction to him. And are there any more pictures?
Just that.
Just that? Okay. Okay, and there's another few things that I want to talk about that the OCFA has been selected to provide special event support and resources for both the 2026 FIFA World Cup and the 2028 Summer Olympic Games. And they're working with the Secret Service, FEMA, Cal OSHA, and other emergency services and local law enforcement to ensure safe and successful events with the eyes of the world on them. And also, Chief McGovern has just instituted a new pilot program, which will really be great. It's for training, further strengthening the development and mentorship of our internal chief officers as part of OCFA's ongoing commitment to leadership development and succession planning. It provided us with an update. The program is being facilitated and carried out so that all the people on down the line will get mentorship and training so that should need arise, they'll be prepared to step into any role, because Chief Fennessy retired quite suddenly to take a job in the federal government, which is a big deal for him, but it was a big loss for us. And TJ McGovern stepped into the role really well, but he's enhancing the guys' training, because you don't want someone to be there for years and then not see any path to advancement, and we lose them to other fire departments. So this will be really good for them too. And that's all for my report.
Thank you. Let's see, the Orange County Library Advisory Board.
Comment on how important our library is. Yesterday I was here, and I think it was warm, and Chris allowed the meeting to be in our council chambers, their book club. I think they had, I don't know, maybe Yoli knows, because
About 19 participants.
Yeah, that's how many in just one book club. The library is very popular in our community, so we appreciate all the work that they do and their support.
Thank you. Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control.
Well, my meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. However, there is a short clip that I'd like to share. It's from the local news. They're talking about their concerns about the mosquito problem early on this year due to the high temperature. Show them.
Well, you may have noticed mosquitoes are out earlier than normal this year, so don't be surprised if you get a bite or two.
Yeah, as CBS LA's Michelle Geely shows us, recent rains and then the warm weather, well, they could be to blame for those early mosquito breeding.
So here is a bucket of water that's captured some rainwater. Looks like it's been sitting for a while because we see some mosquito larvae wiggling in here.
Pest inspectors out making rounds say the combination of recent storms followed by warm weather is a bad sign for mosquito breeding.
We are seeing 5 times as many mosquitoes at this time of year over the 5-year average. So there's a lot of mosquito breeding going on right now.
Orange County Vector Control says the birth of the itchy insect is quick. Egg to mosquito happens in a week, and it only takes a capful of water to act as the breeding ground. It's why Inspector Danny Bowie is on the hunt for standing water in people's yards. Some of the most common places are plant saucers, buckets, and flower containers that don't fully drain, like this one, with hundreds of mosquito larvae swimming around.
A bottle cap of water can breed up to 100 mosquitoes.
Orange County Vector Control has been inspecting the pool in the backyard of this home in Garden Grove for the past couple of years, and they're back again to check for the presence of mosquitoes. They did find them, so what they're going to do now is toss tablets into the water to stop that growth. Pest experts want people to scour their yards for containers of water that filled during recent rains and dump them at least every 7 days.
This is terrible news going into summer because the mosquitoes, the more that are out there now, exponentially, there's going to be that many more later. So we really have to focus in and get rid of that water wherever we can.
In Garden Grove, Michelle Geely, CBS LA.
Hate to see them so early.
Thank you. Next is the South Orange County, the San Joaquin Transportation Corridor.
Yeah. I have some good things to report on behalf of the toll roads. The first is continued motion on the 241-91 connector, the express flyover. It's an extremely complicated organizational structure, including multiple groups such as the toll roads, Caltrans, the Riverside County Transportation Commission, and OCTA. But we finally executed a milestone agreement, a cooperative agreement with Caltrans, giving us authority to collect tolls and setting up who's responsible for what. This flyover bridge is going to be separately tolled, and I don't know if there's been discussion of the amounts yet, but it will be congestion pricing, and during heavy traffic it will be more expensive, and in light traffic less expensive. It won't eliminate the backup at that intersection, but it should reduce it by about half, which will save every rider maybe 40 minutes during that part of the commute. The second thing is the San Diego Association of Governments has executed a cooperative agreement with the toll roads for us to provide, for us to process their transactions. Now, our toll roads have about 100 million transactions every year. San Diego on Interstate 5 toll lanes and State Route 125 has about 30 million transactions a year. And it's cheaper for them to provide a supplement or an expansion of our tolling facilities, our back office operations, and handle their toll operations than it is for them to build out their own. This is, we have already completed an agreement and have everything in place and operational for several years for the San Bernardino County Transportation Commission on Interstate 10. And now this is the second one that we're doing. And we have been selected as the preferred provider for the Sacramento area CARTA toll roads or toll lanes on Interstate 80. So it's really making us a major presence in the tolling industry, although we don't have as many toll lanes or toll miles. Lane miles, that's what it is. We don't have as many lane miles as some of the larger tolling organizations. We have an incredibly strong back office operation that is scalable and can be built out to take more, to handle more transactions. So it's moving the toll roads into the position of prominence. The third thing is regional mobility partnerships. There are cities and organizations like, I'll just say cities, that are looking to enhance the ability of their residents to get onto the toll roads. And we have now established some criteria for figuring out what we can do to build additional on-ramps or to widen streets or widen bridges or do how we can use toll revenues to enhance transportation adjacent to our toll roads. And this includes things like, how many more trips per day it's likely to produce on the roads, whether the regional organization is providing part of the funding, and other things like that. So we are moving ahead, aside from just the building of our roads, to make this really, they're called transportation corridor agencies. That's the official name because their job is to provide transportation in South Los Angeles County. So we're working on various ways of doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is South Orange County Watershed Management.
We haven't had a meeting.
No meeting. There is no report for the Laguna Woods Community Bridge Builders.
Could I make a comment, though, on that? And I want to remind, I thought you might do it, there's a major play occurring this Sunday, and I thought that's supported by, you want to talk about it? Because it's your...
It is, but it's a fundraiser, so I didn't know. It's a fundraiser for our club, so that's why I didn't bring it up. It's okay. It's advertisement, but it's a fundraiser, so that's why I didn't bring it up. Other comments and reports. There's a League of California Cities, Orange County Division. Councilmember Moore, you attended a meeting?
I did. And traffic, that really fits in really well because it's very difficult to attend a meeting at 5:30, and I know the library meeting is at 4:30, and you're right in the middle of people doing a lot of moving. But anyway, I did attend the meeting. They had a good turnout. They went over the bills that we're supporting, and I think we received the emails on those, and thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, and then Councilmember Lee has a...
Well, I want to make a comment. I want to ask our Mayor Moore, tell us about her visit to Sacramento.
Mayor Moore?
Mayor Annie Moore, you have received the Certificate of Woman of Distinction.
Oh.
Yes, I would like for you to share with us. We're very proud of you.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I was nominated by Assemblymember Diane Dixon for Woman of the Year. And so I was able to attend a meeting at the state capitol on Monday to be recognized with over 120 other women who were recognized and celebrated by their state representatives. And it was an amazing experience. It was truly an honor. And I just wanted to thank Diane Dixon for her recommendation. So.
Very good. Very good.
Annie, I
Thank
have
you.
2 more
You deserved
comments.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 more comments. I would like to personally thank Yoli and the staff, Robin, they both came out to the tower and helped our residents to apply for the mobility program. Because a lot of them had a problem coming to the city hall to get the application done. So Yoli and Robin was gracious enough to come out, and I've been getting a lot of thanks, so I wanted to pass it on to you. Another comment that I want to make is that I really like to see a monthly article about our meeting on the Globe, because I want the residents and the people in the Laguna Woods pay attention to what we discussed in our meeting, what was being passed, and I think the voting records are also very important, and create some interest in our village about what we do. And we have a lot of things that we are proud of, a lot of things that we want to share. So if we could establish a monthly column to let the village know about our meetings, I think that would be very helpful. And also, now we are facing the fundraising project, and that would also help us. And I think it would be I would be very happy to see the articles regularly about our meetings.
And let me apologize in advance because yes.
I've been asking for months.
Mayor Pro Tem Lee and I have talked about this before. I've talked to the Globe about it. They are open to doing it. We just need to do it. So I will recommit that staff will get this taken care of and get something in their hands on a regular basis.
And I would also just like to, because Chris and I have been talking, I will be, as the mayor, doing quarterly updates on Village TV, updating the residents about, our council meetings and what we're doing.
I would add, I hope that the article will be in the paper of Chris receiving his award. I think that, from the other cities, I think that's important enough, really. I think that's a great reflection.
With all the pictures that we have taken.
Yeah, that's a great
yes,
idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Chris, we just said that. Rioli, you heard that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are there any other council comments or reports? Seeing none, the next item is item 11, closed session. So we don't have any closed session reports. So the next item is meeting adjournment. So this meeting is adjourned until Wednesday, April 15th at 2 p.m. Meeting adjourned, and thank you all for attending.